Welcome, everyone. We are excited to be here this afternoon and to hear the great news that will be presented to us by the mayor and Chief Rovelo. I want to welcome you to Wilson Gray Youth and Family Center. And where's Clinton Hamilton? He is out of the room at the moment, but I want to thank him and his staff for always doing a great job of making this particular YMCA available to the community for events like this. So Clinton, that was a thank you to you and your staff, so thank you. I would be remiss if I didn't also recognize in the same vein I. Charles Matthews, who is the chair of the Board of Advisors for the Wilson Gray Youth and Family Center. So I. Charles, thank you as always for the time and commitment and your expertise that you provide to us on a daily basis. Thanks a lot. So we're very excited to be here to hear what's going to be reported to us by Mayor Segarra and the police chief. We work in partnership with the mayor along with many other organizations as part of a coalition called Stop the Violence and Increase the Peace. And many of the individuals in the room are a part of that coalition. Ebony Horsewomen, Hartford Knights, Hartford Communities That Care, the Urban League of Greater Hartford, and several other organizations, Faith Congregational Church, our Husky Sports are a part of that effort where we're trying to provide a matrix of services to our children and our youth that will keep them out of harm's way, help them to be nonviolent in their daily activities, and to provide and engage them in activities that are going to lead to safe and healthy lives, which is all of our objectives. That coalition and the funding was brought about as a result of the great work of our legislative delegation, and in particular Doug McQuarrie, who advocated for us to receive the funds, and those funds are from the CSSD. So that matrix has been working along with the other efforts that have been made to reduce the crime and violence among young people in the city, and we've seen some dramatic reductions. We're going to hear what those reductions are in a moment. And so without further ado, it's my extreme pleasure to welcome Mayor Segarra to the podium.
Thank you, James. Thank you for your partnership. First of all, there's a lot of people in this room that I really need to be able to thank for their collaboration. And I. Charles Matthews, who is here, who is an integral part of this organization, but is also a friend and a brother of our city. Clinton Hamilton, who partners up not only with the city but with many other organizations. I want to thank you for your partnership as well, and for your hosting us on this very, very important event. I also want to thank Councilman Kyle Anderson, who chairs our Quality of Life and Public Safety Committee. He's always, even in very difficult times, projected this ease and this calmness in terms of his approach, and I think that that's very important for us as we face the very difficult challenges of reducing crime and violence in our community. We've been very fortunate to have a lot of support from our legislative delegation, but I want to acknowledge Representative Doug McQuarrie, who was here earlier. I think he was in his workout attire, didn't want to be seen in that. Looks like a 19-year-old, but I want to thank him, and I want to thank State Representative Brandon McGee. Iran Nazario, who's here, thank you for partnering up with us. Thank you for decisions that you made years ago to not only turn the course of events in your life, but use the past to turn the course and the events of thousands of the youth in our city, so that they can be productive residents. David Jorgensen, who has been pouring his heart out with the POW program, making sure that my words of 5 years ago, that we take a strong approach on crime in law enforcement, but that we create opportunities for our residents, most especially our youth. I want to thank the Reverend Henry Brown for leading a very passionate crusade against violence, as is Pastor Samuel Taylor, who is not with us today. I don't see him here, but I know that he's here in spirit. I want to thank all of you. Our council, Councilman Sean Wooden's assistant is here, Janice Fleming. I want to thank all of you for this effort in continuing this strategy of reducing crime and violence in our city. I want to acknowledge our Chief of Police, James Rovella, for his diligence, for his professionalism, and for his commitment to improving our police force, improving our relationship with those that we serve, and for his dedication in keeping us protected. I want to especially thank the men and women of the Hartford Police Department for continuously taking risks and for their hard work in keeping our community safe. And with equal respect and equal admiration, I want to thank the men and women of Hartford, our residents, who have shown that they are fed up with crime in their neighborhoods, in their communities, and in their city, and that they're willing to be a partner in keeping our community safe. We are in this together. I am proud of the work, of everything that we have accomplished so far together, and I look forward to continuing the progress and working with everyone. Maintaining safe streets takes leadership, it takes collaboration, it takes innovation, and of course, it takes resources. And although resources are a big challenge, it is a constant challenge that we face. It challenges us to look for new ways that we can both streamline, be more efficient, and be more passionate in getting resources from the state, from the federal government, from private sector to be able to meet the challenges of public safety. But the issue of resources has not stopped us from working together and achieving results. So what are those results? Here in the North Policing District, which includes Albany Avenue, or Upper Avenue, Blue Hills, Clay Arsenal, North Meadows, and Northeast, homicides are down 42% since last year, and 53% since 2011. This is significant because one of the biggest challenges that was presented to me walking through the doors of the mayor's office was the unacceptable, outrageous homicide situation that was occurring in the north part of the city. The reason there is a steady decline is because of focus and collaboration. So before we go into the hard numbers, because law enforcement has chosen to work and partner up, and we have chosen to unite in this effort of producing better opportunities for our community, is a person that I have a lot of respect for, a person that was acknowledged as a 2014 CNN hero, a person who our city, through my office, provided the key to our city, a person that works right here in Hartford, in our own Kinney Park, Ms. Patricia Kelly of the Ebony Horsewoman.
Well, good afternoon. It is an honor for us to be here to represent Ebony Horsewomen. It's an honor to be in the company of so many fine, uniformed gentlemen and ladies. I want to thank the mayor for inviting me to this event, and also our host, Mr. James Morton and Clinton Hamilton, at this beautiful facility of the YMCA. We do work in collaboration with the Y, with many other organizations, Urban League, Mr. Brown, Reverend Brown, and other organizations, Hartford Communities That Care, to provide alternatives, experiences, and opportunities for the children in the city of Hartford. The crime statistics comes at a very opportune time because we ourselves, being located on Vine Street, have seen some of that reduction. Through the efforts of the mayor, I want to say thank you very much for clearing out a lot of the dead wood in Kinney Park. We're able to see visibly better through the parks now, and so those undesirable areas where crime could happen are no longer there as they were, so that has helped a great deal. Thank you, Mayor, for that. At Ebony Horsewomen, we provide equine and animal-assisted therapy for youngsters who are having a difficult time with diagnosed problems or just having a hard time navigating puberty and adolescence. These kinds of alternative therapies work, and it works well. But I think what the mayor touched on is the most important piece, is that we offer our children opportunities, different opportunities within the North End. The Y is a very great place to come and get those kind of opportunities, as well as across the park at Ebony Horsewomen. So we're very happy to be here today to provide that kind of opportunities for our youth. And we have to say it works. It works very well. We have a 100% graduation rate from high school and an 82% graduation rate from college. So we're very proud of that, and we know that a lot of that is due to not only what Ebony Horsewomen does over on Vine Street, but the Y, Urban League, and many other organizations in the city. So I'm excited to hear these new crime rates, because we have ourselves, I said it before, seen the reduction. And so I give this back to the mayor, because I'm excited to hear what's in store and how better it can be, not only now, but going forward. So thank you very much.
So today we're going to review some of the crime statistics, as we do every year, but I want to give you a little bit of context to the statistics. First of all, I've always been very clear that if we do not do better with crime, we do not fulfill our pledge to the community to improve in that area, but also we don't give our city the best opportunities for economic development and to have folks visit our city. I became mayor in 2010. Chief Rovella and I have been working together since 2011 when he came in to lead our shooting task force. So the comparisons that we're going to give you today to draw on are mostly between 2011 to 2014. This comparison demonstrates our progress and the results and our mission and philosophy. I have already met with the chief, and I've asked the chief to conduct a further detailed analysis of this data and come up with specific additional plans that we can have a discussion around in terms of how we can resource that seek to address into areas that we could improve upon and continue the momentum. It has been a very difficult year for law enforcement and community relations for all of us. The incidents in Ferguson and in New York, both with the chokehold death in Staten Island and with the killing of 2 police officers while on duty in Brooklyn, impacted this country greatly. These are incidents that scare us. We're still in the process of healing. These strategies had really led us to have a more difficult but a very important dialogue with our communities so that we can continue this process of healing and moving forward in a positive tone. And although we're not Ferguson, we do have a very different approach to policing, and it is evident in the way that our community has responded to the tragic events, the way that we've partnered up with the faith community, with community organizations, to ensure that this is about our communities and our law enforcement, and that at some points we converge in ways that should lead us to work together. For the last few years, and for many of us even longer, the people in this room have worked together to reduce violence and crime in the capital city. Being a leader requires us to make tough decisions, and we have decided that the most important area that we wanted to tackle together were homicides, major crimes, and significant violence. And I can tell you today that since we started to work together, violent crime, serious crime in our city continues to decline. Homicide is down 17% since last year and 30% since 2011. All serious crimes, especially gun violence, are significantly down in the capital city. So Hartford is safer now than it has been in decades. And before I turn to our police chief, I want to leave you with an important message. When you examine all of the factors that contribute to gun violence or serious violence, it tells a story of a serious, complex issue that really requires a comprehensive approach and involvement from various community stakeholders in order to create change. I don't feel comfortable in giving all of the responsibility for law enforcement and reduction in violence to our law enforcement department, because this work is best done when we engage all parts of our community to be able to intervene. So my strategy on crime has always been very simple. One, make sure that our young people have opportunities, increased youth employment, year-round activities, job training, all contribute to doing this. And the two work hand in hand. The more safe our city is, the more increased economic opportunities, the more increased economic opportunity, the better and safer and more balanced our community is. But the more jobs there are, the more opportunities there are for economic success, the less need that there is to engage in criminal behavior. The second part of this is to partner up with organizations, the state, community leaders, businesses, and the corporate community. Anyone who is interested and invested in our mission and our philosophy. And number three, make sure that our police force has the resources they need to engage in the preventative police work that needs to occur. Community policing, the PAL program, and the ability to hire more officers and obtain more resources in the area of social services for our community. As we move forward, that will remain my focus, and I'm asking for your support. For us to continue our ability to work together, we need to unite in keeping our families safe, our children safe, our businesses thriving, and our city on a positive trajectory. This will allow us to build on our progress and ensure that all of the hands are on deck in keeping our residents safe. With that, I would like to bring up Police Chief James Ravella for a more detailed report. Thank you.
Good afternoon, ladies and gentlemen. Thank you for coming. And to our community partners, thank you very much for your help throughout the year and from previous years. I think just about everyone has been named, maybe an exception to the Board of Education. They've done great things for us in this city also, and they're continuing doing great things. You know, our hospital system has been fantastic in different aspects, and we'll mention them as we go through some of the statistics today. I expect to be a little interactive. I expect questions and to move the program along. So, ladies and gentlemen, when we get going, Sergeant. So, every year we print what we call year-end numbers. These year-end numbers are in front of you, and they're by uniform crime reporting requirements for the FBI, and that's what we follow. So you actually see, and I'm going to point out some duplications in here, folks. And we went back 3 years to when I began and when I came back to the shooting task force in 2011. So, Sergeant. So we started looking at homicides and non-fatal shootings. You know, homicides are down 29.6% since 11 and 17.4% in 2014. That's great work, but it's the holistic approach to great work. Yes, we still run our big investigatory endeavors. We still run the shooting task force. We have the men and women in blue. We have the support for those men and women. But we have the community, and that's what we're going to center on. It's a holistic approach. When you look at non-fatal shootings, we're still down 22% from 2011 and 6.9 just last year, even though we had a difficult December, which was mitigated right now, and we hope to continue the investigations. We're showing you the homicides here on a graph to show the reductions over the years. And this is something we're proud of, and the community should be proud of this too. And Reverend Brown, you've been a part of this. Excuse me. You've been a big part of this, Reverend Brown. You're out there after every single homicide to include some non-fatal shootings and also some preventive rallies out there, and I thank you for that, and you're a big part of this. And now I want to show you some non-fatal shootings. And what I've done here, folks, is I've teased out the duplication. And the duplication in teasing out is the fatal gunshot victims. So we brought that down and actually show you our non-fatal shootings throughout the city. And again, you see a nice trend a downward trend since 2011, 12, 13, and now 14. All areas that we hope to improve on, that are difficult areas for us to work through, but we have been. As we look towards more violent crime, we start to look at sexual assaults. They're still down 6.1% from 2011, 19.5% in 2014. Robberies are also down 17.8% and 10% last year. Aggravated assault is another one of those numbers that have duplication. And for clarification, when we talk about sexual assaults, the FBI changed the definition for sexual assault in 2014, so that's why we saw a jump. In robberies, if I had to go back to my old detective days, decline in robberies is important because robbery is that confrontational one-on-one that points to future violence for me. That people who commit robberies graduate to other things in life. So I'm glad to see a decline there. Now, aggravated assaults, this is a number I watch pretty closely. And you can skip through the sexual assault and go right to the aggravated assaults, Frank. Aggravated assaults, they include my domestics, and they're also doubled up with numbers from my 9 fatal shootings. So if I didn't have the opportunity to tease out those numbers for you today, but I will point out to you that my domestic violence, when I first came on board, was looking like 50%, maybe 52% of my aggravated assault numbers. We continually drill down on that at the mayor's request. We're down into the low 40% for that, which is a very good indication that what we're doing. And our partners between the Interval House and the court has been fantastic for us. Pretty much telling you, so I had one judge tell me, she goes, the theme should be bring your toothbrush if you get arrested because they're going to want to send people to jail for domestic assaults. It's a crime, and we're going to put together good cases, and we're going to make people go to jail for it to change their behavior. As we move on a little bit, we talk about our annual arrests, and this is somewhat of a pet peeve for me. It's not the quantity of arrests that make a difference, and I fought that when I first came on. It was the old adage, more arrests, reduce crime. Well, I feel that particular arrests for particular crimes make more of a difference. So you're now seeing a decline in our adult arrests from 2011. 34.6% from 11, 5.8% from last year. And I look at juvenile crimes very closely. And one of the first actions we had is the disproportionate minority contact agreement between us and the Board of Education. We're driving juvenile arrests down. We're trying to break that pipeline that exists from school to jail. So we're reducing juvenile arrests across the board also. And the next slide is just a graph of that so we can go through that. It's a nice mix. Firearm seizures. Another interesting category, and I hope we have a question or two in here. We seized a lot of firearms in this city. 1,746 since 2011, 375 last year. And we also look at ShotSpotter activity. And this is a very important bubble for us to watch, the ShotSpotter, kidney-shaped, that goes through from the north end through the central district and into the south. Not all our citizens call the police when they hear gunfire. Not all of them do, but we rely on ShotSpotter to accurately tell us when a shot has gone off. We've seen an appreciable reduction in gunshots in our city. 45% is huge from last year. So that's a number we're still watching and still doing things with. Now, firearm recoveries, they're broken up in a couple different areas. We talk about ShotSpotter activity in 13 and 14. We look at gun buyback. We also look at seized guns and recovered guns. Seized guns are usually come with a defendant on them or a search warrant, where recovered guns are found property, and it could be a search warrant but no prosecution. But gun buybacks, at the mayor's instruction, we launched into the neighborhoods this year to try to buy guns from particular neighborhoods, smaller endeavors, along with our hospital endeavor later on we had in December. It proved very fruitful. And if there's a a slant or a criticism towards the police chief, one might say, hey, these aren't evidence-based, are they? Well, I'd say this. We're recovering a lot of firearms, but as our shootings go down and our people are not shot and our homicides go down, my gun buybacks go up. So if there's a correlation, it's one of those gut correlations that says I'm going to continue that. And the mayor's instructed us to continue that. And in March, we're going to have at least one, if not two, where we're going to be in the neighborhoods buying back more guns. And there's a little caveat here. We've also seen a reduction in gun-related suicides, which is very important to us for a lot of years. We've done the research. Even though there weren't that many, there are far fewer now, which is important. Property crimes, always a problem in our city. And a particular scorn to us, actually. Even though our burglaries are down 29.6% from 2011 and down again this year for 9.1%, our larcenies went up. Our larcenies account for over 50% of our part-run crimes. They're particularly challenging to us, and they're also particularly upsetting to me, because these are those quality of life crimes that we want our public to not endure, because it's important for our citizens to feel secure in where they live in their vehicles. And our vehicles went up too. Even though we had auto theft incidents are down 12.5% from 2011. Auto thefts were up last year, particularly with older model Nissans or Toyotas or Hondas, those shaved keys, and hopefully we're treating out of that. We've also given out, and Brian, if you could help me, about 800.
Yep. Steering wheel locking.
Yeah, steering wheel locking devices as we go. So we're still trying to mitigate that. So, ladies and gentlemen, I could talk about statistics all day for you, but I'd much rather hear some questions and talk about the real drilling down into this. So please, questions? Mr. Mayor?
Yeah, if we can have maybe Pat come up and Reverend Brown, if you just want to say a couple of words before we get into the questions and answers as well, just briefly. And who else? Mr. Morton?
I have nothing further.
Well, you might get a question.
Oh,
I'm sorry.
James, I'm hoping you get more questions.
I mean, I think that the statistics are good, but I also think that's a big social component to how we really get into driving down the numbers, right? These statistics are not disconnected with our economy, so when you get into things like shoplifting, I think there's a connection there. But the work that we do with our communities is very, very important. So I think that if you want to
good evening, everybody. I want to thank Mayor, Police Chief, Mr. Martin, the YMCA, and all of you for allowing me to be here today. Everybody in this room pretty much know my passion about saving people's lives and how I feel about gun violence. I just want to thank Chief Ravella for the community policing that we have been able to do over the last couple of years to reduce gun violence. You know, any life lost is a life one too many. But I think that the community policing that he's put in place has been effective. I want to thank other organizations, Hartford Community Cares, NAACP, you know, Iron, your efforts. It's not about just one group of people that are trying to fight these violent crimes in our city. I won't take any credit for anything. There's much more work to be done. I think that we're headed in the right direction, and I think the whole key is community. It can't be just Reverend Brown and Mothers United Against Violence. You have to be all of us included, from the mayor's office on down, if we're going to stop this trend of violence that are taking too many young lives in our city. With that community policing on this Thursday over at the Police Athletic League right over here on William Street. We're having a forum with the police department called Courageous Community Conversation. With the recent events that are happening, like in Ferguson, New York, and other areas, we thought that it was necessary that we engage in these conversations. To me, it's not about just Black lives, it's all lives that matters. And we should be all on the same front, trying to make our community and our city safer for all of us. Miss Patricia Kelly, she's a hero. She's a beautiful person. I try to emulate some of the things that she do. So many people that I work with that I can be thankful for that helped. The Voice of the Women of Color, Deputy Chief Brian Foley, my friend right there, Deputy Chief right there. Some of you that I don't know, I want to thank you for your work with Mothers United Against Violence, because we have did some great things, and it's the people that behind you that should be taking the credit, not me. So I just want to thank you all for what you do, and stay encouraged, and God bless.
Chief, we'll take questions at this time.
Joe?
How many of the homicides from this year have been solved?
Deputy Chief?
I don't have that off the top of my head, Jill. I can certainly get back to you, but we're on pace to go with our higher standard that we've applied over the last few years. Certainly, we predict to get up to get in the 70% range.
The 23 number from 2013, does that mean the officer involved shooting, that doesn't count, correct?
No, it does.
It does count.
That does count. That should be in there too. It's 24 and 13 and 23 and 2012. I don't know if that's, you have it correct there or not. The FBI doesn't count it, Jill, but they are on there.
So that on the first page, it should say 24?
But never mind, it's 20. If it says 23 and 22, the FBI doesn't require it. That's
Okay.
correct.
I'm sorry, go ahead.
I heard you mention that the drop, particularly this year, was attributable to focus and collaboration. Can you drill down a little bit more into the specifics of what is attributable to that drop?
So on the investigative angle, yes, we're engaged with all our federal partners, all our state partners. We look at the big grand juries. We look at focused deterrence. We look at responding to the little things in life that turn into bigger things, like the shots fired that often fell through the cracks. We investigate right away before they become bigger things. But let's start looking at the conversation we're beginning to have with community folks that want to be or want to participate. Let's talk about the faith base for just a moment. A group of pastors and rabbis and reverends that want to help. We have Project Longevity on top of that. We've actually opened up conversation with some of our most at-risk offenders and victims, potential victims, to the point where we have customized visits with a Reverend Project Longevity coordinator and Sergeant Austin from my office for frank conversation to go back and forth with. I could talk about Compass, who and Hartford Communities That Care, that interact and immediately following or try to preempt an event, or immediately following an event to try to prevent the retaliation, which was always a nuisance for us, retaliation going back from one group to the other. So it's a holistic approach, and there's probably people I forgot to mention, but it's more of a holistic approach than just a law enforcement approach. A lot of community involvement.
Chief, have you guys also, or have you altered your approach towards any crime in light of what happened in Ferguson and the follow-up of that in New York?
Our approach to crimes? No, we haven't. You want to go a little more in depth if you have a...
We're just hearing, and there have been news reports from other communities and other police departments talking about perhaps not approaching certain situations or maybe backing off in certain cases, and I just wanted to see if that's happening here.
We have had a slight reduction in vehicles that were pulled over. We've seen reductions in adult and juvenile arrests, as I've told you. We've also seen a reduction historically, not just after Ferguson in New York, of field interview cards. Those are that difficult interaction between us and the community. We've seen a reduction in traffic stop numbers, that interaction, which is also difficult between us and the community. But that's been historic. I can tell you that going back to 2011, those numbers have declined. I haven't seen what some, like New York City, has seen as far as a reduction. You're welcome.
As Chief and Reverend Brown, I mean, you've both been in the city for a while. Have you seen a difference? Have the officers seen a difference? And Reverend Brown, have you seen a difference in the people on how they don't want to interact with officers? I mean, it used to be a trouble when no one would talk to the officers. You both see differences.
Yeah, again, the effort that we put in is that the one thing that we do, we encourage our community to trust the police department. The only way that we can reduce crime in our community is that we have to be trustworthy. The police have to be trustworthy. The people have to want to trust the police to solve homicides or whatever crimes in our community. And that's one of the things that we push for. We push for a better relationship with the community and the police department. I think over the last 2 years it's really, really worked. And I think a reduction of the crime has a lot to do with that, working with the police and the community working together. And I think that we can do better, but I'm just grateful for the opportunity that we have had, because anytime we can save anybody's life is a victory for all of us. That's
And Chief, have you heard? I mean, you heard that from your officers as far as investigating people that would not communicate now,
Well, for years we heard, what was it, snitches get stitches, when we call witnesses. I will tell you, we've seen a huge crack in that facade, a huge crack. And that is not just based on our interaction with the public. It's based on everybody that's at this meeting, everyone that isn't here that we've mentioned. Everybody wants to contribute. They're tired of violent crime. They're just tired of it. It impacts right away two families very negatively, doesn't it? The victim's family and the shooter's family across the board. So I think people are beginning to be very tired of it. So yes. Yes, sir.
Regarding arrests, it says that you have a decline in arrests for juveniles and adults. Is there also a decrease in incidents, or is the incident level about the same, but you're just arresting fewer arrests because you're having alternative methods of dealing with this problem?
Actually, the incident level is pretty much the same from last year, up 104 incidents. So there's no direct correlation between really reduced arrests and increase in crime. We're not seeing it.
You guys have talked a lot in the past, and I know it's been in plans, initiatives put forward in the police department about tackling not only crime, but the perception of crime. Can you talk a little bit about where you guys see yourself standing now in perception of crime?
As we try to move the city forward in terms of the growth, development, new housing, new entertainment venues, we trust and we count that our media will assist in getting the facts across so that helps with the perception issue. I think that if our surrounding communities know of the decrease, even though I'm committed to doing better, that at least we don't, we eliminate the bias of crime as we tell the story of significant reductions in violent crimes in our city. So, we'll continue to work to market our city, market our venues, and change that around. But it takes us working in partnership with the folks that have to get out the information, because we have very limited resources. If I had unlimited resources to do marketing campaigns, then it would make it a little bit easier. On the other side, I think that the media can help with that just by getting the news across.
For the chief, there was a provision, and I think it was a spring, summer, fall initiative a year or two back, talking about including police presence around key stakeholders in the city, so major corporations, different areas of the city. Did that happen, and if it did, have you seen a difference?
I've certainly seen a difference, and that goes towards your perception question. Is the city perceived as safe? Yes. We look at different aspects of the city. We look at it, the school-based school area. We look at parks and recreation quite a bit. We look at our business community who comes in and goes out, that we want to retain them here after hours at some of our entertainment districts and restaurant districts. We have the different large events around the city that are cultural, that our whole community takes part in. We've increased police presence for all of us. Yes.
Can I respond to that question?
Please.
I think that something else that's happened is, as a community on the whole, I think that community-based organizations, faith-based organizations, I think that we've been doing a better job of engaging young people. And so if you look at, I know that Iran is serving more children in his program. I know NAACP has a youth division. I know that the Ebony Horsewomen are serving more kids than ever. In our coalition, our Stop the Violence, Increase the Peace coalition, we're serving about 300 more youth this year than we were serving 2 years ago. And so I think that that has something to do with the fact that, you know, we're keeping kids engaged, they're healthy, they're living lives of hopefulness. And I think that when kids have hope, then I think some of the things that are happening in the community, the negative things begin to dissipate. And so I think that this is like an all hands on deck situation where everyone in the city is working toward making the city of Hartford a more livable community for all of us.
Any more questions? Okay.
One last.
One more, Chief. How is it that the number of shooting incidents and victims are the same?
Those are FBI reporting requirements along with the state police. If I had my druthers, which I don't, we have to report according to the state police. For instance, if there's more than one person shot during one incident, I would consider that one incident and 2 victims. The FBI and the state consider that 2 incidents and 2 victims. So they move back and forth.
If somebody's not shot, is that an incident? If the gun goes off, it doesn't actually provide symptoms, that considered an incident?
It is considered an incident, but not an aggravated assault.
Okay. Thank you very much, everyone. Thank you for being here.
Congratulations.